The Learning Journey in association with Turn It Up Tuesday, hosted by Ross Audio, presents Did You Know? This week's topic is about Maroons, deception, deportation, exile, Canada, dogs, and the war. In summary, our title is Jamaican Maroons in Canada, A Brief History. For the disclaimer, the information sourced here is based on a cross-examination of relevant literature and sources. Hence, the account and artifacts presented are connected to dominant discourses and thoughts. Please listen and make your own conclusions. All sources are listed on my YouTube channel. According to one writer who wrote in the 1900s, the Maroons were a band of wild Negroes, pagans, and polygamists. The source describes Jamaica as a troublesome place that had consistent unpleasantness over the years. The source goes on to suggest that the Maroons were good at handling weapons, and they were brave in their endeavors. Even if they were retreating, they did so skillfully. The story begins in 1795 when two Maroons were accused of stealing two pigs. Both Maroons were found guilty and flogged. However, it should be noted that the Maroons were flogged by a slave. For the Maroons, this was an unimaginable event that should never have taken place. So the Maroons decided that they would articulate their anger by speaking with the authorities. 6 leaders came to voice their concerns to the authorities, and these 6 leaders, they were taken as prisoners. And if you all know a little about the Maroons, this did not go well. The person who ordered that the men be arrested seemed to have had no idea about the First Maroon War and how the war ended. Yes, he was a new governor. Regardless of the warnings given by the planters, he decided to take on the Maroons. And when the war started, the Maroons took it to them and gave it to them, as we would say in our present day terms. It is reported that when the British were losing men by the dozen, the Maroons were yet to lose a single person. After a time, the British would then change their tactics. This then resulted in the cutting off of the Maroon supply. And as a matter of fact, things got worse. The final straw was the arrival of dogs from Cuba with dog handlers to hunt down the Maroons. The Maroons surrendered, and it was said that a treaty was signed that would see the Maroons beg the king for forgiveness and continue to return runaway slaves. They were told that they would be allowed to stay in Jamaica. When they all surrendered, the promise to stay in Jamaica was broken. The reality is that the white men tricked the Maroons. One white man protested. Notwithstanding, the Maroons were put on ships, and they were now heading to another part of the world. The Jamaican authorities were so happy to get rid of the Maroons that they provided money for their resettlement. The journey from Jamaica to Canada must have been difficult for them. According to one source, many Maroons died on this journey. The fear of being on a ship again must have caused psychological harm. The ships they traveled on were named Denver, Mary, and Anne, and these ships landed in Halifax on July the 22nd, 1796, accompanied by a colonel named Quarrel. Nova Scotia seemed to have been the main area where the Maroons settled because there was a shortage of labor in that area. However, soon things would change. While some writers and historians highlight that the Maroons seem to have liked Nova Scotia, there seems to be some level of disparity with these accounts. For example, one Maroon had found out that neither yam, banana, cocoa, cayenne pepper could grow on his farm. Just imagine, this Maroon planted and was not able to reap a single thing from his ground. Another complaint was that there were no wild hogs to hunt. Yam and wild hogs were not the only complaints. Soon the funds were finished, and in other words, money done. The winters proved very harsh for the Maroons. The reality is that these people had never experienced cold weather before. Lakes, rivers, and the very ground had been frozen. Maroons wanted to leave, and a petition was started. The petition stated, the Maroons cannot exist where the pineapple is not. The reality is that they needed a warmer weather. The petition worked. All the Maroons would need to go. On August the 5th, 1800, over 500 Maroons set sail for Sierra Leone in West Africa. According to one source, they were denied a return to Jamaica. While the Maroons' stay in Nova Scotia was short, we must acknowledge that these people fought for their independence and were deported. And again, they had to energize themselves to survive. We should not forget these Maroons' contribution to the black consciousness of Canada. As one writer puts it, the Maroons' spirits were unbreakable. And it teaches us what is required to fight for justice. My question to you is your spirit strong enough to fight the injustices in our society? If not, what lessons can you take away from the Maroons and apply it to your own life? Thanks for listening. Over to you, Rossi.